Welcome to the debate. Let's cut straight to the chase. I want you to picture a scene. You're at a roadside bar, it's late, maybe a little too late, and the jukebox kicks in, and suddenly, Bruce Springsteen is in your ear. He's telling you about a friend from high school, a former baseball star. This guy could throw a speedball by you, make you look like a fool, but now, he's just sitting there, drink in hand, and all they can talk about are glory days.
And the kind that pass you by in the wink of a young girl's eye. It's one of the most haunting lines in rock history.
It is. And it frames our central conflict today perfectly. When we cross that threshold into life after the 9 to 5, does looking back turn us into that guy at the bar, stuck in a psychological trap, boring everyone with stories of who we used to be? Or is it, as you might argue, a vital anchor for our survival?
Well, it's the difference between being a ghost haunting your own house and having a solid foundation to stand on. I think we are about to find out if memory is a medicine or a poison.
Today, we are dissecting this tension using some fascinating and frankly terrifying source material. We've got the Retirement TV Activity Blueprint, which documents the tragic but redeeming trajectory of a man named Dan.
Ah, yes, poor Dan.
We have the clinical psychology of nostalgia from Echoes and Anchors, and because we refuse to be boring, we are stress testing these psychobabble theories against the lyrical wisdom of the boss, Bruce Springsteen, and of course, John Mellencamp.
Rock and roll sociology. I am absolutely ready for this.
Okay, so to set the stage, I am taking the position of the architect. My argument is that looking back is, well, it's a dangerous narcotic. It leads to what our sources call the void, the Cheetos couch spiral, and, rapid cognitive decline. Retirement is a forward-facing construction project, not a trip down memory lane.
And I am the anchor. I believe that this architect mindset, this obsession with constant reinvention, is actually a source of modern anxiety. I'm here to argue that nostalgia is a superpower for resilience, and that we need to embrace the Pink House's philosophy of acceptance. If you don't know where you've been, you can't possibly know where you're going.
So let's get into the blueprint argument first. I think the most damaging lie people are sold, and we see this in the retirement TV material, is that retirement is a finish line. We have this postcard image conditioned into us, the paid-off house, the golf course, the financial plan that is locked and loaded.
It's the American dream. It's what we work 40 years for. It's the gold watch mythology, right?
Correct. But the source material explicitly identifies this as the honeymoon phase, phase 1. And here's the key insight. Biologically, vacations are designed to end. So when you treat retirement like a permanent vacation, your brain stops receiving the dopamine hits associated with problem solving and social structure. When that honeymoon ends, usually after a year, the silence sets in.
The silence is heavy, but isn't that just the lack of hobbies? You make it sound like a full-blown existential crisis.
It is an existential crisis. It is so much deeper than hobbies. This is where we encounter the unexpected void. Dr. Morin, who is cited in our material, points out 5 huge losses that occur the moment you stop working. It's not just about a paycheck. You lose structure, identity, workplace friendships, purpose, and influence. If you don't have a plan to replace those, you crash. Which brings us to the star of our show, Dan.
Poor Dan. He is the everyman in this story, the patron saint of bad planning.
Dan is the cautionary tale. He had the money. He had the time. He spent a year winging it with nothing but a little 3x5 card as his plan. And he hit the wall. The source describes his rock bottom not as some dramatic explosion, but as a slow gray fade. It was Netflix on a loop and a giant carton of Cheetos.
That specific detail, the giant carton, it really paints a picture of despair, doesn't it? It's not a single serving bag. It's the Costco size of regret.
It's the Cheetos spiral. Aimless days leading to low self-esteem. So my core thesis is this. You must be the architect. If you look back at who you were, the VP of sales, the head nurse, the baseball star, you will drift into that void because those roles don't exist anymore. You have to build a new life based on the 5 pillars: health, money, lifestyle, being active, and giving back. If you aren't building, you are decaying. Simple as that.
Okay, I see the logic, and I certainly don't want anyone eating processed cheese in the dark for a year. That is a grim image. But I think you're making a fundamental error here. You are conflating rumination with nostalgia.
Make the distinction for me. Because to me, living in the past is living in the past.
Not at all. The echoes and anchors source makes a critical separation. Rumination is what you're describing, obsessing over what's lost. I used to be important, now I'm nobody. That is toxic. But looking back, in the clinical sense, is defined as the art of reflection. It's not about living in the past, it's about understanding the narrative arc of your life.
But does understanding that narrative actually help you get off the couch? Or does it just give you a better vocabulary for your depression?
Absolutely, it helps. The research in our materials shows that reminiscing, specifically sharing memories, strengthens neural pathways. It boosts self-esteem, and it acts as a buffer against loneliness. You talk about Dan feeling empty? Well, nostalgia is the nutrient that fills that cup. It reminds you that you have value, that you have a history, that you have survived hard things before.
Or it reminds you that your best days are in the rearview mirror. That is the risk. You start thinking the movie's over, and you're just watching the credits roll.
Not necessarily. The source even highlights the fashion crimes of the past. When you look at a photo of yourself wearing socks with sandals at a reunion in 1995, you don't feel depressed, you laugh. It triggers endorphins. It's a bonding mechanism. My core thesis is that we shouldn't treat the past like toxic waste. If you don't look back, you have no foundation. You're trying to build a penthouse on quicksand.
I want to drill down on that bonding aspect, because I think Glory Days actually refutes your point. Let's look at the Glory Days trap specifically through the lens of relationships.
Back to the boss. I know you think he's on your side here.
The lyrics are brutal if you actually listen to them. Time slips away and leaves you with nothing, mister, but boring stories. The key word there is boring. When you were the guy at the bar talking about the speedball you threw in 1975, you aren't connecting with the person next to you. You are alienating them. You are signaling that you have nothing new to offer.
I think you're misreading the room, or the bar in this case.
I don't think I am. Retirement TV notes a frightening statistic about gray divorce. For couples who live parallel lives, he worked, she managed the home, or vice versa, the sudden quiet of retirement reveals a massive distance. If your only connection is, do you remember 1980? You eventually realize you have nothing in common right now. You need to rediscover desire and connection in the present, not rely on the archives.
I'm sorry, but that interpretation just feels incredibly cynical. Let me offer the counter perspective from echoes and anchors, specifically round one relationships. Do you remember when is the absolute glue of friendship and marriage. Shared memories create empathy. It is shorthand for I know you, I witnessed your life.
But is being a witness enough to sustain a relationship for another 20 years? Witnessing is passive.
It's the foundation. And look at the song again. Glory Days isn't a funeral dirge, it's an upbeat rock anthem. They are laughing. The lyrics explicitly talk about the woman up the block. She says when she feels like crying, she starts laughing, thinking about Glory Days. It's a coping mechanism. It's joy. It's the ability to summon happiness from the library of your mind.
I would argue it's fleeting joy. It's a temporary anesthetic against the reality of the present. If you rely on it too much, you stop making new memories. You become a curator of a museum that nobody visits but you.
You want to lobotomize retirees of their history. You want them to show up to the breakfast table as blank slates, ready to build. But human beings are stories. If you strip away the boring stories, you strip away the self. You can't just be a new Dan. You have to be Dan, the guy who learned from the past.
I'm not saying strip it away. I'm saying don't live there. And let's shift gears to the psychological toll of this building mindset versus what I call Pink House's acceptance.
I love this comparison. This is really where the rubber meets the road.
Let's go back to Dan. His rock bottom was defined by that loss of influence I mentioned earlier. Dr. Morin's 5 huge losses. The most painful one is often identity. Who am I if I'm not the manager? If you look back at your work identity and try to hang on to it, you get depressed because it is objectively gone. You need phase 4, reinvention. You need to be rewiring.
Rewiring? It just sounds exhausting. It sounds like I need to call an electrician just to eat breakfast. This is exactly what I mean by the anxiety of the architect mindset.
It's better than the alternative, which is atrophy.
Is it? Let's look at John Mellencamp's Pink Houses. The source lyrics describe a young man listening to rock and roll who was told, "You're going to be president." And what happens? Those old crazy dreams just kind of came and went.
Exactly. Failure, disappointment, a broken promise.
No, that is the twist. That is the profound insight of the song. The very next line is, "Ain't that America? Something to see." It's not failure, it's acceptance. He's sitting in his pink house, watching the interstate. He isn't spiraling. He isn't frantically trying to learn Mandarin or start a consulting firm. He's content.
He's settling. He's given up on growth. He is literally watching traffic.
He's at peace. Your obsession with building your best years yet is just another rat race. It's the same type A anxiety from the workplace, transferred to leisure time. You're telling people if they aren't reinventing or running marathons, they are failing. Retirement. I'm saying sometimes it's okay to just watch the cars go by. That is spiritual maturity.
But we have evidence that watching the cars go by leads to the void. Retirement TV is clear on this. The void is predictable. If you don't have a plan, you drift. And drifting leads to isolation. You might call it peace, but biologically, if you aren't engaging with new challenges, your brain begins to prune neural connections. You're describing cognitive decline as a lifestyle choice.
That is harsh. And Echoes and Anchors Round 2 Psychological Health says nostalgia increases resilience. It provides comfort during those transition periods. If you take away their ability to look back and say, "I did good things, I had dreams, even if they changed," you leave them defenseless against the aging process. You're taking away their shield.
I'm not convinced, because the architect mindset isn't about erasing the past. It's about not letting the past dictate the future. Let's talk about the architect versus the storyteller regarding longevity and spirit.
Okay, let's talk longevity, because I think my pink house guy lives longer than your stressed out architect.
The activity blueprint is very specific. Health is the bedrock. You can't just sit there. One of the 5 pillars is being active. Look, Dan didn't get better by remembering high school baseball. He didn't get better by reminiscing about his old job. He got better by throwing stuff against the wall and finding new things. Specifically, he needed people to play pickleball with.
The inevitable arrival of pickleball in any retirement discussion. It's like a law of physics. If you talk about retirement for more than 10 minutes, pickleball just appears.
It's a cliche for a reason. It works. Why? Because it combines 2 of the pillars, health and lifestyle, which is social connection. He found community through action. He moved from isolation to community, from aimlessness to pure adventure. He became the designer of his day. Stagnation is the enemy. You cannot reflect your way into cardiovascular health.
But you are missing the spiritual component. Echoes and Anchors Round 3 discusses spiritual community. These communities, churches, temples, social clubs, are built almost entirely on looking back. Rituals, ancient history, old stories. That is where deep connection happens. It is not about whacking a plastic ball. It is about shared history.
That's institutional memory, not personal brooding. That's different.
It's all connected. And Round 4 on longevity cites studies suggesting that older adults who reminisce, who engage in life review, have greater life satisfaction and lower rates of depression. If looking back were a sport, you would disqualify everyone for a false start.
I'd disqualify them for wasting time on the starting blocks. You have limited time left. Why spend it rewatching the movie you've already seen?
Because understanding the movie helps you understand the ending. Can you really build a meaningful future if you don't know who the builder is? Dan only knew what to build because he realized what was missing. He looked back at his year of Cheetos, which is looking back, by the way, and said, "I don't want this." He looked back at his love for music and reintegrated it. He didn't invent a brand new Dan. He recovered the real Dan.
I see the nuance there. He recovered the Dan who was active, not the Dan who was passive.
Exactly. He used the past to inform the blueprint. He didn't burn the blueprints of his past. He referenced them. You can't separate the architect from the anchor. The anchor holds the ship steady so you can build on the deck.
That brings us to a crucial point about the spark.
The source mentions answering that ache in your heart for the spark that reminds you that you are still alive.
You are still becoming, as the source says. A beautiful line.
It is. But to become, you have to move. I think my biggest fear for people is the lonely rocking chair. It's the image of someone who has stopped engaging with the world because they prefer the world that exists in their head. The world in your head is safe, but it's small.
And my fear is the anxious construction site. The person who is so busy trying to build the best years yet, ticking off boxes on the 5 pillars list, that they never actually sit down and enjoy the house they built. They treat retirement like a job performance review. They are stressed out about being relaxed.
Fair point. We don't want to turn leisure into labor. So, as we wrap this up, I want to summarize the architect position. I acknowledge that some memory is okay. Obviously, we aren't robots. But the danger of the void is real, measurable, and predictable.
The Cheetos are always winning.
They are. My advice is to be like post-Cheetos Dan. Grab a blueprint, treat life like a construction project. Don't let the glory days be the only good days you ever talk about. Make sure you have a story from today, a new mistake, a new win, a new pickleball score to tell at the bar.
And I will stick to my guns here. Don't be afraid to look back. It is a blessing, not a curse. It connects you to your loved ones and to yourself. It reminds you that your life had meaning, which gives you the confidence to find meaning again.
Even the fashion crimes?
Especially the fashion crimes. My advice is to find a balance. Build a pink house, find that acceptance, but keep the music playing. And maybe, just maybe, the secret to a long life is trading your regrets for those embarrassing dance videos from the 80s.
I think we can agree on one thing. Whether you are building or remembering, the goal is to avoid the Cheetos spiral.
Amen to that.
Find the spark that reminds you that you are still alive. That's it for the debate.
Keep rocking.